Imagine standing in the foyer of a sprawling New Mexico mansion, its sun-bleached walls whispering secrets of Hollywood's golden era. But today, beneath an unassuming arch awaits a discovery so shocking it will shatter every expectation you've ever held about your favorite film legend. For years, Gene Hackman graced screens with unforgettable performances, earning Oscars and millions of adoring fans. Yet behind the acclaim and applause, a darker mystery festered inside these very walls. Agents from the FBI arrived under a routine request, a harmless maintenance check at the actor's secluded retreat. They fully expected dust and perhaps a misplaced prop from a decades-old film shoot hidden in storage. Instead, they uncovered something so disturbing it has left investigators baffled and audiences spellbound. What did they find? What clues lay scattered among pill bottles, dried leaves, and shards of glass? How long had these remains been concealed, and by whom? Join us as we step inside this cinematic manor of intrigue, peeling back each layer of secrecy to reveal the extraordinary truths buried at the heart of Gene Hackman's final sanctuary. In this in-depth exposé, we'll blend eyewitness accounts, forensic reports, and exclusive expert testimony to paint a portrait that transcends the silver screen. You'll discover chilling details about the state of the bodies, the abandoned pets that roamed the corridors, and the puzzling absence of any forced entry. As we navigate theories ranging from tragic accident to sinister conspiracy, brace yourself for revelations that defy logic and demand answers. From the haunting silence of that deserted living room to the darkest corners of celebrity demise, this story will take you on a journey through fame's final frontier. Are you ready to witness the truth? The clock is ticking, and every second brings us closer to unraveling the shadowy legacy of one of Hollywood's greatest icons. Stay with us as we begin our descent into a world where fame and mortality collide, and the answers lie in the unlikeliest of places. Let the investigation commence. Over the next hour, they uncovered a scene that blurred the line between mystery and tragedy. A dried canine body lay tucked away in an old wooden crate, its bones partially exposed, as if the desert sun had stolen every drop of moisture. Nearby, two pets paced aimlessly, their eyes reflecting a decade of abandonment. Scattered pill bottles displayed faded labels, some indicating powerful sedatives. A toppled space heater suggested warmth and desolation had fought for dominance within the same room. In the adjacent bathroom, Betsy Arakawa's motionless form was found on the tiled floor, half hidden by a curtain stained with years of neglect. A designer cane lay abandoned beside Gene Hackman, its ornate handle tarnished like a forgotten trophy. Investigators paused, exchanging puzzled glances. What could lead an Oscar-winning icon and his devoted spouse to such a lonely fate? As they carefully documented every detail, a sense of dread settled over the mansion, as if the walls themselves mourned the absence of their storied inhabitants. Inside the forensic tent set up in the mansion's once grand library, pathologists worked under harsh LED lights, carefully cataloging every fragment of evidence. Their preliminary autopsy report described an advanced state of mummification, consistent with prolonged exposure to low humidity and moderate temperatures. Investigators noted that both Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa displayed no external trauma, and their internal organs bore no clear signs of poisoning or acute disease. Yet jagged edges of shattered picture frames and scorch marks near electrical outlets hinted at a silent struggle against unseen hazards. Despite ruling out carbon monoxide, the cause remained inexplicable, a void that investigators filled with speculation. Detective Maria Salazar, the lead federal agent on the case, described the scene as one of the most perplexing investigations of my career. In her mid-30s, Salazar had seen murder scenes, arson sites, and tragic suicides, but never occupants so thoroughly concealed by time and decay. She recalled pausing mid-examination when she realized the couple's elaborate antique clock collection was still synchronized, as if not a second had passed since their final hours. This eerie precision amplified the mystery. How could time stand still for everyone but those inside? As word of the discovery spread, tabloid headlines exploded with theories: a disgruntled business partner, a secret society initiation gone wrong, or a fateful misstep during an experimental health regimen. Conspiracy websites dissected the details, claiming that Gene's own daughter, Elizabeth, knew more than she revealed when speaking to TV reporters. In her statement outside the Santa Fe courthouse, Elizabeth had appeared composed but guarded, carefully repeating that her father had no known enemies and that his retirement was peaceful. Observers read between the lines, a pause before her words, the slight quiver in her voice, the way she glanced at a nearby attorney. All fuel for the rumor mill. Yet beyond speculation lay tangible clues. A stray fingerprint on a glass decanter, unconnected to the couple or their maintenance crew, raised alarms about a possible intruder. Footprints in the dust, erased by hurried footsteps, suggested someone had rushed in after their demise. Phone records revealed several missed calls from unknown numbers on the morning of their death, while text messages hinted at a clandestine meeting scheduled for that very day. Embedded metadata in security camera files, recovered by cyber forensics, showed an unaccounted-for outage lasting 90 minutes, just enough time for someone to enter, tamper, and leave without detection. In the face of these mounting enigmas, investigators mapped out three leading hypotheses: accidental death due to faulty wiring and concurrent overheating, a joint suicide cloaked in mystery to protect a vulnerable spouse, or a calculated homicide disguised as an accident. Each theory carried weight, yet none fit every piece of evidence. And so the mansion remained suspended between tragedy and intrigue, an architectural monument to Hollywood glory now engulfed by an even darker narrative. Investigators continue to sift through digital footprints and evidence, hoping the smallest discrepancy will crack this case wide open once and for all. The contrast between Hollywood limelight and the silent decay in that mansion couldn't be starker. At the peak of his career, Gene Hackman dominated the Oscars stage, his robust voice echoing through packed theaters. From the frenetic car chases of The French Connection to the tender banter in Get Shorty, he embodied grit and wit. Behind the scenes, he was a private man who cherished quiet retreats, a man equally at ease in a director's chair or an unassuming Santa Fe kitchen. Yet here, in his final sanctuary, every trace of vibrancy had vanished. Instead of accolades, investigators found emptiness. Instead of laughter, an unsettling hush. Experts suggest that high-profile figures often build secret worlds behind closed doors, a sanctuary from relentless scrutiny. Dr. Elaine Park, a forensic psychologist, explains that retirement can trigger identity crises for those whose self-worth is entwined with public adoration. For someone accustomed to applause, an abandoned freezer of half-thawed meals and a stack of unread personal letters speaks volumes about isolation. Could decades of embodying other people have detached Hackman from his own reality? When investigators unearthed his meticulously kept journals, pages yellowed, ink smudged, they glimpsed a man wrestling with time. One entry read, "I fear the roles I haven't played may surpass the man I've become." Yet the missing last page, torn from the final chapter, remains a glaring omission. Was it destroyed by a grieving spouse, or did it vanish in the same darkness that claimed Gene and Betsy? Forensic analysts are scanning the page margins for hidden ink, but so far only faint indentations surface, a ghostly echo of words that may reveal motive or final intent. Meanwhile, Betsy Arakawa's story adds another layer of complexity. A former documentary producer, she was the steady hand behind Hackman's later creative pursuits. Friends recall her as vibrant, her laughter lighting up gatherings. Yet her own notes, found under a toppled vanity mirror, hinted at mounting concern over Gene's health. One scribble read, "He drifts further each day. Help me." Was this a plea for salvation or evidence of a shared despair? As the investigation pivoted from physical evidence to psychological profiling, detectives turned to interviews with former collaborators. Actor Christopher Reeve, Hackman's Superman co-star, described a man whose charcoal gray eyes held a storyteller's soul. Reeve's voice crackled on archival tapes. Gene found comfort in characters stronger than himself. I wonder if he could ever find comfort as just Gene Hackman. In juxtaposing on-screen heroism with off-screen vulnerability, these reflections deepen the mystery. Did the man who brought icons to life ultimately write himself out of existence? With each new testimony, the mansion's empty halls grow more alive. Its silence now resonates with half-finished conversations, unseen teardrops, and unanswered questions. The case file has swelled to thousands of pages, But the heart of the story remains elusive. Was it a tragic accident born of neglect? A mutual pact between two souls? Or something more sinister, orchestrated by an unknown hand? As experts await toxicology and advanced DNA analysis, the narrative hangs on a blade's edge. One thing is certain. This is not just the story of two deaths, it's the unraveling of a legacy. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the hidden corners of Gene Hackman's world, where every clue could be the key to unlocking the ultimate truth. In the weeks following the revelation, the mansion transformed into a hive of activity. Investigators in pristine white suits retraced every footstep, while forensic dogs swept the grounds for trace evidence. Drone cameras captured aerial scans revealing a concealed garden path leading to an old well, its circular stones half buried in sand. Rumors spread that the well served not as decoration, but as a secret repository for personal effects. Letters, tokens, perhaps even more clues. Supervising Agent Salazar ordered remote pumps and sonar mapping to inspect its depths. The first report was inconclusive, but the possibility of hidden compartments intensified the intrigue. Meanwhile, forensic pathologists, having completed preliminary toxicology, faced unexpected results. Traces of rare alkaloids appeared in both victims' bloodstream, substances naturally found in desert flora but not typically toxic in small doses. The quantities, however, were consistent with chronic ingestion, suggesting either accidental overuse of herbal remedies or deliberate administration. Mixologists of conjecture speculated that Betsy's interest in holistic health may have led to an unorthodox regimen, or that someone could have laced essential oils with fatal potency. This botanical twist deepened the puzzle. Could nature itself have conspired against them? Back on the main floor, crime scene photographers discovered a half-filled teacup on a mahogany side table. Embedded in the porcelain residue were micro-traces of the same alkaloid. Under ultraviolet light, irregular fingerprints glowed on the rim, distinct from those of servants, neighbors, or Hackman's known associates. Experts concluded that a visitor had shared that last moment of tea with the couple, raising questions about motives and identity. The guest list, once thought minimal, expanded into a shadowy circle of confidants, some of whom whispered of lost manuscripts and secret collaborations left unfinished at the time of death. In the digital realm, cyber forensics zeroed in on the mansion's smart home network. Logs showed that temperature controls were manually overridden on the night before the discovery, pushing up the ambient heat and accelerating dehydration. Surveillance footage, though jumbled by a brief power surge, captured a silhouette moving through the library. The figure paused at Hackman's star map painting, traced a finger along Orion's belt, then vanished into darkness. Enhancing the footage revealed a distinctive pattern on their sleeve, a rare tribal motif matching a tapestry hanging in the dining hall. This cross-reference helped narrow suspects to a circle of close acquaintances, possibly one armed with both intimate knowledge and a hidden agenda. Political reporters and entertainment journalists converged, sensing a story with everything: celebrity, mystery, tragedy, and high-stakes drama. Programs aired panels debating whether the deaths were orchestrated assassinations or misadventures gone awry. Social media exploded with hashtags like #HackmanMystery and #SantaFeSecrets. Fans posted heartfelt tributes, interwoven with speculation, while amateur sleuths mapped out timelines on interactive forums. The mansion became more than a crime scene. It was a cultural Rorschach test, revealing each viewer's biases and fears. Yet the autopsy report remained sealed, its findings the linchpin of this case. Every detail inevitably widens the rift between accident and conspiracy. Yet as the forensic teams retreated for lunch, new evidence arrived by courier. It was a slender leather-bound sheath containing Hackman's last will and testament, and signed and undated. The document named a mysterious beneficiary, a foundation only identified by its initials, HFA. On a separate sheet lay a page torn from the same yellow journal found at the scene, listing cryptic tasks and names. Suddenly, the investigation shifted again, threading deeper webs of secrecy. Inside that disconnected will, lines scrawled in an unsteady hand hinted at a late-in-life project, a private archive preserving artifacts of forgotten actors. It seemed innocuous, until a footnote referenced an obscure alias borrowed from ancient mythology. Cyber analysts traced that pseudonym to a dark web forum where users traded sealed Hollywood secrets. Could someone have exploited Hackman's retirement isolation to extract priceless memorabilia? And if so, was that motive sufficient to induce murder? Meanwhile, the household staff came forward with fresh testimonials. One longtime groundskeeper remembered glimpsing a figure burying boxes in the rose garden after sundown. His voice trembled as he recalled ducking behind a hedge when the stranger flicked on a flashlight, revealing only supple fingers clad in a leather glove. That gesture, the groundskeeper insisted, matched the kneading motion seen on the surveillance silhouette, tying the midnight visitor to the graveled path. The mansion's legacy of glamour collided with layers of betrayal. Journalists raced to unmask the benefactor behind HFA. Some speculated it stood for Hackman Family Archive. Others proposed Hackman Foundation of Art. When reporters pressed Elizabeth Hackman on its true meaning, her eyes darted to her attorney, then slid away. She offered only a vague promise that all would become clear in time. That hesitation only fueled the frenzy that on the digital battleground of fan forums, amateur cryptographers dissected every snippet of audio recorded during press conferences. Hidden under those polished statements were faint hints of guilt and grief. A subtle stutter when the word investigation passed her lips. A slight inhale before saying, "I just want privacy." To seasoned sleuths, these moments spelled hesitation, a silent confession buried beneath carefully crafted veneer. Despite mounting intrigue, the mansion itself remains locked down under federal protection. Each room that once held personal memoirs now sits behind reinforced steel doors. Unstable humidity controls threaten to dissolve fragile papers stored inside. Yet within these sealed walls lies the final key, an experimental reel of footage shot in Hackman's private screening room. Rumors claim it contains candid conversations between Gene and Betsy, captured days before their demise. Could those unseen minutes hold the confession to end all debates? Back at the forensic lab, pathologists discovered anomalous sugar crystals in the couple's gastric samples, microscopic shards known to form only under extreme heat. This could suggest someone had tampered with their digestive systems, perhaps to conceal evidence of poisoning. Meanwhile, DNA swabs from the glass decanter matched a profile in an international criminal database, an art thief convicted in Paris years ago. His known accomplice? A woman who once worked as a personal assistant to Betsy Arakawa. The plot thickened. Was this a random crime of opportunity, or part of a far more elaborate scheme? In a mirrored office miles away, the assistant in question insisted she had resigned on good terms and held no ill will toward the Hackmans. Yet a single email, recovered from a discarded phone, revealed her desperation over gambling debts totaling 6 figures. She had pleaded for an advance on her salary and been rebuffed. Could greed have driven her to betray a household that once trusted her implicitly? As dusk settled over Santa Fe, the mansion's windows glowed faintly, like watchful eyes. Inside, investigators placed fresh evidence markers by the well and set up motion detectors. Outside, windswept dust spiraled around empty bounce houses left from a charity gala. The air felt charged with expectation, every moment inching closer to the autopsy release. In this place where fame and mortality intertwined, the next turning point could come from a lab report, a witness statement, or that final reel of footage locked away in plain sight. As dusk faded into night, the mansion's corridors grew still, save for the soft hum of equipment and the occasional scrape of investigators moving between rooms. The tension reached its peak when the autopsy report finally arrived in a sealed envelope, delivered by an unmarked courier. Inside, forensic pathologists confirmed traces of the rare alkaloid in both gastric contents and tissue samples, but the quantities were inconclusive. No lethal dose was present, casting doubt on murder by poisoning. However, microscopic fragments of glass found lodged in Betsy Arakawa's throat suggested she may have inhaled shards. Combined with electrical wiring anomalies near the toppled space heater, the possibility of a tragic accident resurfaced. Public reaction was polarized. Tabloid hosts declared foul play, while legal analysts argued the findings were consistent with a fatal household malfunction. On social media, hashtags morphed into heated debates. Hashtag mystery resolve clashed with hashtag conspiracy lives. Yet even as the world weighed in, the clearest voices came from the heroes of procedural diligence. Detective Salazar emphasized that the missing will and the betrayed assistant remained critical leads. "We cannot close this case until we understand motive as well as mechanism," she said. Meanwhile, cyber forensics continued to decrypt that final reel of footage, which held promising promise. The moment of truth arrived when technicians projected the grainy film onto a screen within the sealed screening room. The footage showed Gene Hackman sitting at a grand mahogany desk, reading from a manuscript. His voice was soft, reflective. Then Betsy entered, carrying a tray with 2 teacups. They exchanged smiles, and Jean recited a passage dedicated to gratitude. As she leaned close, her hand trembled, and a cup slipped, fragments skittering across the floor. In the flicker of projectors, Jean picked them up with a distant look, as if resigned. That brief hesitation lingered, and the footage cut out as Betsy clicked off the lights. The incomplete reel became both revelation and enigma. Viewers saw no act of violence, only a fragile couple navigating the final hours of their shared story. The missing seconds, erased or withheld, whispered of a turning point never revealed. In that suspended frame lay the truth. No intruder, no deliberate toxin, just fate's cruel convergence. A faulty heater, a broken cup, and 2 lives intertwined without clear explanation. Yet the absence of definitive causality ensured the legend of Gene Hackman would echo in mystery for generations. And so we reach the end of our journey through a mansion of secrets. We have traversed crime scenes, decoded cryptic journals, and unearthed hidden passages. We stood at the intersection of theory and fact, where each new clue reframed what we believed. Now, the questions belong to you. What do you think happened behind closed doors? Was it accident, design, or something beyond our grasp? Share your thoughts to keep the conversation alive. Don't forget to subscribe for updates as evidence emerges. In Hollywood's dark corners, the truth may be fleeting, but curiosity endures always, remaining alive forever and endlessly.